Hello and welcome everyone. Today I wanted to talk about Australia versus Centrelink. So you might have seen in the news this morning and today that hundreds of people were waiting outside Centrelink offices around Australia. And basically what we've seen from the corona pandemic is that hundreds of thousands of people, potentially millions of people, are going to be losing their jobs over the next 3 months to 6 months, and lots of people have lost their jobs today as well, because this was just the start. This was just the closure of the non-essential services, so pubs, clubs, gyms, RSLs and whatnot, and we're really going to see a lot more jobs lost over the next 3 to 6 months. And those who watched the news, they would have seen that the Government Service Minister, Stuart Roberts, said that this morning that the MyGov website crashed because of the DDoS attack. Well, actually, it was more so the fact that there was more than 50,000 people trying to access the site at the same time. So just a quick history of Centrelink in Australia. There has been previous welfare systems before Centrelink, and the name Centrelink took effect in 1997, and in 2011 Centrelink and Medicare were integrated into the Department of Human Services. So between 2013 and 2014, within a month of taking power, the coalition government began cutting DHS jobs and resources. Basically what happened in the public staff levels across the public sector, they dropped by about 11.2% in 5 years. And call centres were privatised too. So what happened when it was privatised? Basically during 2016 to 2017, 55 million calls to Centrelink were blocked with a busy signal. This was up from 29 million in 2015 to 2016, which represented an increase of nearly 90%. On top of that, there were nearly 7 million abandoned calls. And then if we look from April 2018 to August 2018, they outsourced about 2,750 jobs to private companies, and they continue to privatize even more. And in 2016, robo-debt began. So basically the government issued over 500,000 robo-debt notices, asserting debts of about 1.25 billion, with the average being about $2,184. And for anyone who owns that much money, it's not a lot of money to own, but it's a lot of money to owe. And that's the most important part. And as a result of receiving a robo-debt, more than 2,030 people died. And I don't want to make this too political, but basically from 2013, that's when the Liberals took over. And they are notorious for trying to privatise things, especially public infrastructure and services. And I just wanted to quickly show you the difference between the New Start and the age pension in dollars per fortnight for a single person. So in 2020, it's around $559, and for the age pension, it's $850. But I want to draw yourself back to this graph from a previous video. Basically, you can see the 25 to 34 and the 35 to 44s, the ones that are going to be on the New Start or the Job Seeker as it's known now, they don't really have much wealth, and they don't even have any housing equity. They don't have a place to live. They have to rent. They have no capital behind them. And to show you how shit the New Start allowance is before the doubling that the government's just announced, this is the New Start allowance down here per week. This is the pension. This is the minimum wage, and this is the median wage. New Start allowance is tiny, and it's barely gone up over time. In fact, it hasn't really gone up at all in terms of real wages. These ones have all gone up, but not New Start allowance. So as of 2020, if you're a job seeker who's single and has no children, the maximum amount you can earn on New Start or a job seeker is $565. With rent assistance and you're single, no children, increases another $139 for a maximum of $705 a fortnight, or $352 per week, or just $50 per day. And in 2018, Julia Banks, a Liberal MP, basically claimed that she could live on $40 a day. To give you some perspective, her travel allowances in 4 months are roughly equivalent to a full year of New Start allowance. So Scott Morrison's typical tagline is, Australians who have a go, get a go. But is that true? Well, in 2020, the poverty line is around $457 a week for a single adult. And as we saw, for job seekers who get the maximum amount, it's only around $352 per week. And that's basically what this graph is showing. It's showing that New Start hasn't increased much, if at all, since 1994. So the red is the New Start allowance, and you can see it's barely budged, barely gone up. But you see the median poverty line? It's been going up. So that massive difference is the gap between the poverty line and what people are actually receiving on New Start. This next graph looks at the estimated Australian government expenses on social security and welfare. And I know we think that dole pledges take a large proportion of our taxes, but really if you look here in the yellow, this is their tiny little proportion of the total social security and welfare that we provide. but it's part of our taxes. This is the age pension, we've got the disability support pension, we've got the family tax benefits, we've got the NDIS up here. They're taking a tiny smidgen. It's not much. So what is Scott Morrison doing? He's basically doubling the New Start allowance to an additional $550 a fortnight. And the reason I think he's doing this is so that he gets a bit more votes the next election. Basically, he's trying to show that the New Start system is great, when in actual fact it's actually pretty terrible in the current state that it's in. And I also wanted to show this graphic. I think it's really cool. But basically the truth behind Centrelink's wait time is that it says that the average is just 15 minutes and 9 seconds, with the target being 16 minutes. But of the 70 million people that were attempting to call, only 39 million got through. And of those, only 32 million were handled. But funnily enough, if the call wasn't transferred to another line, the clock started again because Centrelink considered the initial inquiry resolved. So the stats are wrong. It's not 15 minutes and 9 seconds, and anyone who's called Centrelink before knows that. And as a previous uni student for 8 years and having to call when I was on Oz study, I was typically on the phone with Centrelink for hours on end, only for it to hang up. So before we finish, I just want to give a quick summary. Basically, Australia vs Centrelink, in the last 5 years, there's been a massive cut to public sector jobs. We've been through robo-debt, they've privatised massive parts of the government program. It's been a profits over care. There's been increased waiting times, millions of abandoned calls, and New Start has been below the poverty line for a long time. And unemployment benefits only make up a small proportion of Social Security. So today's burning question is, if Centrelink can't even function normally, what happens when over 100,000 people require unemployment benefits? In the last 24 hours, we've seen 55,000 Australians try and access the MyGov website. We've seen massive queues to apply in person. And what about the countless number of phone calls that we don't have the data for yet? So that's it for today. I hope you learned something. Please stay safe, wash your hands, smash that like button, do the things you gotta do, and thanks for watching.